In the year 1167, along the rugged coastline of Suffolk, England, near the towering presence of Orford Castle, an incident unfolded that defied the understanding of even the most learned minds of the era. Life for the local fishermen was predictable. Hard but uneventful, their days spent pulling in nets from the gray, churning sea. But one day, as they struggled to haul in their catch, their nets came up not with fish, but with something they could never have imagined. Entangled in seaweed and ropes was a man, or at least something that looked like a man. He was naked, completely covered in thick hair from head to toe, his eyes wide with a primitive intensity. His skin was weathered, his body lean and strong, and most disturbingly, he made no sound. The fishermen, too frightened to even speak, brought the silent figure ashore. From there, he was taken to Orford Castle, where his presence would ignite centuries of speculation. What they had pulled from the sea was not simply a man. It was a mystery that would never be solved. The man was locked within the thick stone walls of Orford Castle, a fortress built to protect the coast from invaders, not to house strange beings from the depths. Word of the capture spread quickly through the surrounding lands. Who was he? Where had he come from? Why was he so unlike any other man? He did not resist imprisonment. He did not attempt to speak, scream, or pray. He remained eerily calm, eating only raw fish, squeezing the flesh for its juices before consuming the rest, refusing bread and water. This dietary preference disturbed the monks and guards alike. Was it a survival instinct or something far more primal? Chronicler Ralph of Coggeshall, a respected English monk, recorded the event in his manuscript Chronicon Anglicanum, describing the man in unsettling detail. His hair was described as torn and ragged, his beard thick and matted, and his body filthy and strong. Most of all, Ralph noted his silence and how no attempts to teach him language or elicit a response ever succeeded. He was intelligent enough to follow commands but never once uttered a single word. He was not mad nor disabled. He simply refused language itself. But silence breeds questions, and questions breed legends. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the story began to change shape in the minds of those who heard it. Some began to believe he was not a man at all, but a merman, perhaps even a triton, torn from his watery domain and cursed to silence on land. The sea has always been a source of mystery, and across countless cultures it is said to harbor creatures that blur the line between human and beast. Greek legends speak of half-human, half-fish beings known as tritons, who live beneath the waves and lure sailors to their doom. In Norse sagas, sea spirits and shapeshifters emerge to guide or destroy. In British folklore, the tales of selkies, beings who shed their sealskins to walk as men, mirror the description of the Orford creature. Could this wild man have been caught mid-transformation? His return to the water, his speechless nature, and his refusal of human food all point toward a being that did not belong to the world of men. Yet others insisted there was nothing magical about him. He was, they claimed, a man from the wilderness, one of the many wild men spoken of in medieval lore. These wild men were seen as symbols of chaos and nature's fury, living outside the bounds of civilization. They appeared in tapestries, carvings, and fables, usually hairy, silent, and savage. During the Middle Ages, the idea of the wild man served as a warning. Stray too far from the path of God and law, and you might become a creature like this. Perhaps he was a hermit, long exiled from society, having regressed into an animalistic state. Or maybe he was a shipwreck survivor, damaged in body and mind, living in isolation for so long that he had forgotten his humanity. In an era with no scientific understanding of trauma or mental health, such a man would have been feared, misunderstood, and locked away. Still, some feared there was something even more sinister at play. Ralph of Coggeshall included a line in his writings that has echoed through time. Whether this was a mortal man or a fish pretending to be a man or a demon, hiding in the form of a drowned man, cannot be known. This single quote reveals the dark lens through which many in the medieval world saw the unknown. To them, the physical and spiritual worlds were deeply intertwined. Anomalies were not just curious. They were often signs of divine intervention or demonic presence. Could the wild man have been an evil spirit, cast into the sea as punishment? Could his silence have been a refusal to speak the sacred name of God? Some believed he was the devil himself, washed ashore as a warning. The idea wasn't as far-fetched to a society steeped in superstition. The church dominated every aspect of life, and anything unexplainable was often declared the work of Satan. For 6 long months, the wild man remained at Orford Castle. He was studied, observed, and feared. Eventually, the captors allowed him limited freedom, within a fenced-off section of the sea, guarded by nets. But his return to the ocean seemed inevitable. One day, without warning, he dove beneath the nets and vanished. No one ever saw him again. No body washed ashore, no bones were found. He simply disappeared, like a ghost slipping back into the water. Some claimed he returned to his people in the sea. Others believed he was reclaimed by the forces that had sent him. But whatever truth lies behind his final escape, it sealed his legend forever. Had he stayed, he might have been forgotten as a madman. But by disappearing, he became eternal. Centuries have passed, and still, the Wild Man of Orford haunts the imagination. His story has been retold in books, documentaries, and folklore festivals. Skeptics say he was a lost fisherman, driven mad by isolation. Believers say he was proof that myths walk among us. But perhaps the truth is less important than what the story represents. Our eternal hunger for mystery, for wonder, for things that refuse to be categorized. In a world increasingly obsessed with facts, the legend of the wild man reminds us that not all answers are meant to be found. Some questions are meant to echo, unanswered, across the ages. And maybe that's the real power of this story. It doesn't just tell us about the past, it holds a mirror to our present. It asks, how do we respond to what we can't explain? Do we fear it, dismiss it, imprison it? Or do we open our minds to the possibility that reality is stranger and far more fascinating than we were taught to believe? The Wild Man of Orford may never speak, but in his silence he speaks volumes. Through him we remember that history is not only written in stone and ink, but whispered in legends, carried by the waves, waiting for someone curious enough to listen. So what do you think? Was he myth, man, or monster? Drop your theory in the comments. We want to hear your interpretation. And if you're drawn to stories that live on the edge of truth and legend, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this is just one of many mysteries we're diving into. And who knows, maybe the next legend we explore will make you question everything you thought you knew about the past. Stay curious, stay wondering, and always remember, some stories were never meant to have an ending.